Hello and welcome back to Rewatched, where as the name suggests, I rewatch films that I had watched ages ago and I barely remember, and I tell you how I feel about it now. मुझे याद है मैं 3-4 साल की थी when Dil Chahta Hai came out and I went to watch it with my parents, and afterwards I just wouldn't stop doing the वो लड़की है कहाँ वाला step. I had two favorite songs the first decade of my life. One was this, and then the second one was Chaya Chaya. Like, if I was in a coma and you played one of these two songs, I would spring up in an instant. The thing is, most of these films that I really enjoyed as a child, when I didn't view things from a feminist lens, really anger me now. A film is already a deal breaker when it doesn't qualify the Bechdel test, which asks 3 questions. Are there at least 2 female characters? Do they have proper conversations with each other? And are the conversations about anything other than men? Which Dil Chahta Hai fails to do. But somehow it's an exception, and I loved it when I rewatched it regardless. This is a coming-of-age film about 3 best friends, and the vibe is urban Indian. जब ये फिल्म निकली थी, उस समय Bollywood films used to be quite melodramatic, larger than life, mostly either had intense action or emotions, exacerbated by loud background music. But this one, despite having really rich characters, was somehow really relatable and down to earth. Love is a very important element in this film. Sameer is a guy जिसको हर दूसरे दिन किसी नई लड़की से प्यार हो जाता है. He often confuses infatuation with love and ends up being heartbroken every other day. Akash thinks love is a lie, an emotional burden and a waste of time, and believes that he'll never fall for anyone. And उसके सामने एक example हमेशा रहता है to prove his ideology right, which is Sameer. So he lives his life on his own terms and doesn't get too attached to anyone. Sid, on the other hand, is a more mature character who develops an unconventional relationship with an older woman named Tara, who's divorced, has a daughter, and is an alcoholic. This stood out for me as the concept of a divorced older woman suffering from addiction was and still is a very unexplored topic in Bollywood. And इस film में इस चीज़ को portray किया जाता है without any judgment. Of course, there are other characters who reflect how the Indian society feels about someone like Tara and display how stigmatized this issue is. Sid's mother throws a fit when he opens up to her about having fallen in love with Tara, and Akash chooses to cut ties with him after Sid slaps him, as he low-key slut-shames Tara instead of taking Sid's feelings about her seriously. This story is narrated as a flashback as the film opens with Sid bringing Tara to the hospital where Sameer comes to meet him, and they reminisce about the days gone by. As they grew up, Sameer ironically fell truly in love with a woman with whom his parents were trying to set him up for an arranged marriage. Meanwhile, Akash, after spending a lot of time with Shalini in Australia, realizes that he's actually in love with her and sabotages her wedding day to propose to her. Which was the only thing I found a tad bit annoying in the film. Like, bro, you couldn't put your ego aside and propose to her sooner. यार इतने पैसे खर्च हुए होंगे उस शादी में. Also, Shalini's dad adopted her after her parents died and assumed that she would grow up and want to marry their son, who would technically be her adoptive brother. कुछ तो लोचा है, boss. Are all super rich families like this, or is it just this one? How would I know? अगर मैं अमीर होती तो I would be in a cruise like रणवीर और प्रियंका in दिल धड़कने दो, but मैं यहाँ videos बना रही हूँ पैसों के लिए. Cut to the present. While Sid and Sam are in the hospital, it dawns upon Akash that the bond he shared with them was like no other. So he shows up at the hospital to surprise them and apologizes to Sid. At this point, I was bawling my eyes out. The average length of each shot in the film is about 8 seconds, unlike most other films where the cuts are quicker. The director refrained from using too many close-ups and stuck to wide and mid shots where at least 2 or all 3 of the protagonists were present. This lets the viewer linger on to the feelings that emanate from the conversations on screen and lets us decide which character we want to focus on depending upon whose story resonates with ours the most, instead of forcing the viewer to see things a certain way or influencing our opinion. A lot of thought went into the production design as well, as each character's room or surroundings reflect their personality very accurately. They even hung a picture of Akash in his room to show how full of himself he is. The art is very minimalistic as the director wants to draw our attention to the characters, since this is more of a character-driven film than a plot-driven one. The few close-ups that are there are so immersive that you can feel in your heart the internal conflicts of the characters, the pain or the loneliness that they're suffering. Even though the film is devoid of the stereotypical plot lines that Bollywood films resorted to at the time, Farhan Akhtar made sure to add elements to appeal to audiences that are accustomed to watching overly dramatic cinema, such as the beautiful music video of Wo Ladki Hai Kahan. I can't and won't stop raving about it, sorry. The video is like a mini evolution of the portrayal of romantic songs in Hindi films, starting from a tribute to Hum Aapki Aankhon Mein from Pyasta and ending with the emulation of Shah Rukh or Salman Khan serenading to their lovers in hills with a sweater around their shoulders trend, which is what was popular back then. Although my favorite video was of Dil Chahta Hai, which is finally such a realistic depiction of what road trips actually look like. कोई सो रहा है बैक सीट पे, फिर वो लोग पिट स्टॉप लेके ड्राइवर्स बदल रहे हैं, then they're playing with their shadows in the beach, which was so wholesome, or just simply sitting in silence. Often Bollywood overlooks the importance of silence in non-platonic intimacy, but this film has captured it so well. You don't always have to be jumping around, being caricaturish to have fun with your friends. It's in the quiet moments together where you actually get to bask in comfort and peace amongst your loved ones. This will forever be one of my favorite comfort music videos. I tried and tried to find things to be mad about in this film, but just couldn't find any significant ones. Yes, there is a subtle male gaze. Yes, it is annoying that Akash spends days and weeks standing at random places around Sydney, staring into the void instead of telling Shalini he loves her. But at the end of the day, I get why this was a groundbreaking film. In their stupid jokes, their pranks, their life lessons, their companionship, I found solace. Thanks for watching this episode of Rewatched, and let us know in the comments below which film you'd like me to rewatch next.